Seema, I'd like you to maybe take that a step further, please, on nursing homes. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, thank you to the President for the declaration. It allows my agency, CMS, that runs Medicare and Medicaid and has oversight of all of the nation's healthcare facilities, to suspend regulations that could get in the way of treating patients during this time. These temporary national blanket waivers are reserved for the rarest of circumstances, and they represent a massive mobilization of our country's resources to combat this terrible virus. And the flexibilities we are offering will be a godsend to the providers, clinicians, and facilities on the front lines of this fight. And later, CMS is going to be issuing guidance directing nursing homes to temporarily restrict all visitors and non-essential personnel, with a few exceptions such as end-of-life situations. We fully appreciate that this measure represents a severe trial for residents of nursing homes and those who love them, but we are doing what we must to protect our vulnerable elderly. Thank you.
As I said in my address to the nation the other night, all Americans have a role to play in defeating this virus. Our most effective weapon right now is to limit the damage to our people and our country and slow the spread of the virus itself. The choice we make, the precautions we put into place are critical to overcoming the virus, reducing its spread, and shortening the duration of the pandemic, which is what it is. The CDC has published guidelines on the coronavirus.gov to enable its coronavirus.gov, and it's very heavily used right now, I will say, to enable every American to respond to this epidemic and to protect themselves, their families, and their communities. While the risks to young and healthy Americans remains very low, we've learned a lot about this over the last 2 weeks. Anyone can be a carrier for the virus and risk transmission to older Americans and those with underlying health conditions and those who are most at risk. They have not done very well. Older Americans who are, especially if they have a health problem, they have not done well. We must take all precautions and be responsible for the actions that we take and that we see other people take. We want to prevent the spread and transmission of the disease. It's incredible what's happening with the sporting world, where so many of the great sports that we've gotten so used to at this time of the year, they're not going to be meeting, and they've done a great service, actually, but that would be another way that it could be, problems could be caused. But this is why I outlined on Wednesday night my administration's the fact that we've issued a requirement suspending all medically unnecessary visits to various places, but in particular nursing homes. We should all be working off the same playbook when it comes to protecting Americans. We have to. We need to be consistent in adopting measures to limit the spread of the virus. The virus is the same whether it's spreading in cities, towns, or rural communities. The tools and tactics for attacking it are similar no matter where you go. No matter where you go. You have some hot spots throughout the world right now that people would have never thought possible, and they're being very seriously affected. Key among these efforts are breaking chains of transmission between people. These measures have been adopted by many companies, universities, and schools, and we want to protect the safety and the health of their employees and their students. I encourage everyone to follow the guidelines we've issued by CDC and these common sense measures. A lot of it's common sense. For the areas where the virus is spreading, the CDC is advising communities to postpone large gatherings, postpone assemblies, social functions, and sporting events, stagger recess and lunch for schools that aren't canceled, limit in-person meetings, increase scheduled cleanings, and cancel work-sponsored travel, among numerous other steps that can be taken. Americans are the strongest and most resilient people on earth, and in the coming weeks, we will all have to make changes and sacrifices, but these short-term sacrifices will produce long-term gain. And again, I've said we're learning a lot for the future, and future problems like this, or worse, it could get worse. The next 8 weeks are critical. We can learn, and we will turn a corner on this virus. Some of the doctors say it will wash through, it will flow through, in interesting terms, and very accurate. I think you're going to find in a number of weeks it's going to be a very accurate term. In times of hardship, the true character of America always shines through. We live in the company of the greatest heroes and the most inspiring citizens anywhere in the world. We want to take care of our people. We want to draw on the strength of our history, draw on the strength of our people, and we will get through this all together. We will just get through it. So much progress has already been made. And frankly, the numbers, because of steps that have been taken, are at a level that a lot of people are surprised, especially when you compare them with other places with far smaller populations. The spirit and the will of our nation is unbreakable. We will defeat this threat when America is tested. America rises to the occasion. And to those families and citizens who are worried and concerned for themselves and their loved ones, I want you to know that your federal government will unleash every authority, resource, and tool at its disposal to safeguard the lives and health of our people. So we're with you every step of the way. No nation is more prepared or more equipped to face down this crisis. As you know, we are rated #1 in the world. We're also helping other nations. Many other nations, we're helping them a lot. And they're doing okay in some cases. In some cases, they're not doing well at all. But we're working with a lot of groups of people and a lot of other nations. With faith and heart and hope and love and determination, we will succeed, we will prevail, we will be very, very successful, and we'll learn for the future. Thank you all very much. If you have any questions, we can take some. Go ahead, John, please. And if you'd like to ask some of the folks up here, would be fine, please.
Sure. Mr. President, where are you with the House bill? Yesterday we talked to you in the Oval Office. You were opposed to it. What has happened since then, and what's the holdup on that?
Well, we just don't think they're giving enough. We don't think the Democrats are giving enough.
You've been watching a CBS special report, President Trump just declaring a national emergency.
They agreed to certain things that they agreed to. So we could have something, but we don't think they're giving enough. They're not doing what's right for the country.
And if I
Thank you, Mr. President. You just mentioned waiving interest for student loans. Yeah. You talked about buying oil from the street.
All right, you've been watching a CBS special report. President Trump just declaring a national emergency, outlining the nation's response to the growing coronavirus outbreak.
Let's break down what the president said from the Rose Garden this afternoon. He emphasized that the country is going to get through the coronavirus and our focus should be slowing the spread of that virus. His announcement comes as the CDC reports more than 1,200 U.S. cases. 36 people have died from coronavirus in the United States. Officials also talked about testing and the possibility of adding drive-through facilities to test people about this. But what is a national emergency? That is the big question this afternoon. Well, national emergencies allow the states to ask the federal government to cover up to 75% of their expenses during an emergency situation. So in this case, things like test kits, medical supplies, additional medical facility extensions, like we mentioned, that drive-through testing.
Guilford County Schools held an emergency board meeting this afternoon. This meeting comes after 2 schools were closed today for cleaning. School officials say this was for extra precaution. WFMY News 2's Jess Winters is live in Guilford County. Jess, why were those 2 schools closed?
District leaders say Gateway Education Center and Northern Guilford High School were closed today out of an abundance of caution. There are still no confirmed cases of coronavirus in Guilford County. This is how they phrased it, and I want you to pay really close attention to what I'm saying because they basically described it as a friend of a friend of a friend. So listen, they said GCS each had one school where they had one person who is associated with the school exposed to someone who may have been exposed to the virus. Because of HIPAA laws, we don't know if the possible exposure to the possible exposure was a student or staff member, maybe even a parent. But again, GCS says this was extreme caution and they wanted to deep clean the schools with an outside cleaning crew just in case.
Neither of those persons have a confirmed case. And neither of those persons have been tested either. They just wanted to self-monitor.
Now, a lot of parents were upset at Northern Guilford, also Gateway Education Center, because they weren't notified by email, voicemail until around midnight when they were sleeping. But GCS says this is a very fluid situation. In fact, it's unprecedented. It's historic. There's no rule book for this, and they're handling it as best as they can.
Jess, thank you. It was a mad dash through the store this morning to stock up on goods. The Costco on Wendover Avenue in Greensboro was packed. The store had a few hundred people in line before the doors even opened at 10 o'clock. We spoke to one man who was there when the store opened.
For the time we got into back here to the back of the store, you know, it's a 2 or 3 minute walk. And within a minute or two of that, all the toilet paper was gone.
Mark Stone said one line to check out was so long it stretched toward the back of the store, and then he added he managed to get in a shorter line and it took about 15 minutes to get through.
So we posted a photo of the lines on our Facebook page, and you know, a lot of people were commenting on this. Brian Bennett, you've been keeping an eye on what people have been saying. I mean, a lot of people getting ready.
So many people. I believe it opened at 10 a.m. and it was already packed outside.
Right.
Let's jump right into what you had to say. Sherry says, this is insane. Looks like we are preparing for bad weather. Let's move it right along. Christy says, this is why it pays to always have an emergency stash of basic supplies, not just when the masses believe it's needed. This comment comes from Robin. She says, we go to Sam's Club every weekend and it always looks like that. While Judy says, this is how you spread it. Yes, we all have to shop. How many do you suppose sanitize the cart handles and then their hands? So that was a very interesting comment right there.
And I did like that one comment saying that they are prepared year round, you know, always having some basic goods. My mom always tells me that I should have a couple things that I can whip up in the kitchen if necessary. So it's good advice.
I think in this situation, there are a couple of things you need. You do need sanitizing wipes and things of that nature. You also need medication to last you for a couple of weeks if you're dependent on a prescription like that. I also think there are some items that people are getting that are unnecessary and maybe causing a shortage of those items. I'm thinking in particular toilet paper. I know Mark spoke about that as well, the man who we spoke to in Costco. So a balance, but I'm glad people are prepared just in case they would need to quarantine.
Yeah, and he said the general mood in there while he was in there was pretty relaxed. People weren't shouting over each other. People weren't trying to pull items out of each other's hands, so it was very civilized. All right, well, a local representative is proposing a law that would give incentives to companies that let people work from home. Ted Budd introduced the Safeguarding Americans from Epidemics at Work Act. It would give employers tax credits for 2020 and 2021 if they allowed their employees to work from home for at least 12 days each month. In a statement, Representative Budd said in part, the CDC has found that many individuals can contract COVID-19 and be contagious without showing symptoms, sometimes for weeks. This means that people could show up to work, infect others without being aware that they are sick. I think it's common sense to incentivize employers to allow their employees to telework in order to stop the spread of the virus.
And the State Department of Health and Human Services is giving some advice to stop the spread of this virus. At work, they say to stay home if you're sick, telecommute, and even consider staggering work hours to reduce the number of people at the office at one time. They also say avoid mass care facilities like nursing homes and jails, and make sure you sanitize your areas and wash your hands. We have a number of things changing in the Triad in response to the coronavirus. Greensboro police chose to cancel all remaining community meetings with Chief Brian James. At this time, they tell us there are no plans to reschedule those meetings.
The city of Greensboro will operate on a new schedule starting Monday. Their hours will now be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the week of March 16th through the 20th. Residents are encouraged to avoid city facilities. Instead, things should be done through phone, email, or through the mail as much as possible. In addition, the city is suspending interruption to past due water accounts until the end of March.
Also in Greensboro, the Science Center is closing for a minimum of 2 weeks. It starts at 5 o'clock tonight. The center will be closed until at least March 27th. They released a statement saying in part to all citizens of Greensboro, thank you for your support, understanding, and patience. Please be assured that our team and animals are doing great. This too will pass, and the GSC looks forward to so many amazing projects that will bring science and tourism to the forefront of our community's bright future.
The Stephen Tanger Center for the Performing Arts was supposed to have its grand opening next week, but that is being postponed along with a number of other opening events, all due to the governor recommending against gatherings that have more than 100 people. Some of those gatherings include the ribbon cutting ceremony, the Josh Groban and Tony Bennett concerts, and the Jay Leno concert, to name a few. The Tanger Center says you should hold on to your tickets until more information on rescheduled dates is released. We have the full running list of postponed events on WFMYnews2.com. Well, do you have any questions about the coronavirus that maybe you want answered? The state has set up a special coronavirus hotline so that you can get that information and more. And we've made it easy for you to get their number and what we know about the virus. All you have to do is text the word virus to 336-379-5775 for more information.
Want to take a break and check in on the weather of the day. And by the way, it's gotten really nice outdoors. Another warm afternoon for us. Temperatures are in the 70s and you can kind of see that sun finally starting to peek through the clouds. It's been a mainly cloudy day of weather. The sun really shining nicely in High Point where it is 74 degrees with a bit of a light breeze. That's the case across much of the area. All of us warm for the third day in a row, but this will be the last day of extended warmth for us. We're going to get a lot cooler going into tomorrow. That cooler air really pretty much just to the west of us right now. And as we go into your Saturday, here's what's happening. Still some clouds around, a few times of peaks of sun, but generally a cloudy and cooler day of weather. Highs about in the 60-degree range or so. And we'll watch this rain. It's possible that one or two of those showers may clip us for your Saturday afternoon. The better chance of rain this weekend is Sunday. You see right there, cold air moving in. Sunday is chilly and damp, but Saturday, not too bad. There's your forecast for tomorrow. We'll talk about the 7-day in a little bit.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. It's unfortunate, but hackers are trying to take advantage of the coronavirus pandemic to trick you into downloading malware on your computer. So we want you to be careful about where you're getting your information. Take a look at this map here. It's from Johns Hopkins. It shows all of the cases of coronavirus around the world. This map, this website is legit, but cybersecurity experts found several fake sites that look just like this one. Instead of giving you the latest information about the virus, though, it gives your computer a virus. Moral of the story here, double check the IRL, that's the web address of the website that you click on before you go to it. We'll be right back.
Time now for 20 movie buffs. You will want to hear this. The annual River Run International Film Festival is canceled. Organizers of the Winston-Salem box office say they hope to schedule a few mini fests instead later on. Now, if you purchase your ticket to the festival, all you have to do is request a refund from the Stevens Center box office. Refunds for tickets purchased at Red Cinemas in Greensboro will be processed by that box office, but you do need to act fast. The deadline for a refund is April 15th.
All right, so you likely are looking for a lot of this, right, during this time?
And probably some of these as well, but as you very well know, they are flying off of store shelves.
So where do you get more? You can actually make your own.
Yeah, that's right. To make your own sanitizer, we have a recipe here for you. 2/3 a cup of rubbing alcohol with at least 70% of alcohol concentration, and 1/3 a cup of aloe vera.
Disinfecting wipes, you'll need 2 cups of warm water, 1 cup of rubbing alcohol, a tablespoon of dish soap, and then add that mixture to half a roll of paper towels and Tupperware to keep it all nice and moist. All right, more of the 4 to 5 coming up after the break. Welcome back to your 4 to 5. Italy is still on lockdown, experiencing the biggest outbreak of coronavirus outside of China. Take a look here. Cleaners in white protective suits sanitized every inch of Milan this morning, and banners with messages of hope are now being displayed on streets and balconies throughout the country. Everything will be all right has become a symbolic phrase in Italy, and many tourist attractions that are usually crowded are empty.
And you know, over in Madrid, Spain, really same story, different place. Famous landmarks, squares, and streets were nearly empty. All restaurants, bars, and shops in Madrid have to close. Only supermarkets and pharmacies are allowed to remain open. The shutdown starts tomorrow. Spain has the highest number of coronavirus cases in Europe after Italy. And, you know, I have some friends that live in Italy, and they're saying, you know, it's kind of like a ghost town. We just kind of go to the store if we need to, but most of the time they're just stuck at home.
This is one of those situations where Italy waited a little bit longer to start that social distancing, to start canceling those events. And they did see a really high outbreak. They did see medical centers being overcrowded. So that's why you've seen a big push here from United States health officials to get that started earlier.
Right, they're really just not trying to repeat history and what we've seen in some of the European countries.
We just pray that everything bounces back like it should, and that everyone over there is getting the care that they need.
Because we know tourism, big deal over there.
The economy.
Yeah.
Checking your weekend forecast here, we are watching much colder weather. Of course, this is not winter cold, but cooler than the 70s that we're seeing right now. A front is pushing by as we speak. Tomorrow, about 10 degrees cooler than today, mainly in the mid and upper 50s for highs. Low rain chance tomorrow. The better rain chance will be coming up on Sunday. This is when the colder air starts to arrive. Sunday's not a nice day. It is cloudy and it is raw and damp. Here's your weekend forecast. Clouds are around tomorrow. An isolated shower possible in the afternoon, but Sunday, 40s for temperatures, cold, damp. We will start to get warmer as we head into next week. That's your forecast.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Tahay Shamoys, joined by Maddie Gardner. Eric Chilton has the day off.
Yes, we are here to inform you, make you feel connected, and really let you know what's going on in your community. We are live streaming right now on the WFMY News 2 Facebook page, so hop on over there. Let's chat this Friday afternoon.
We've got a lot of news to get into today, and things really changing by the hour.
Yes, we heard from President Trump earlier. Let's hear what he had to say.
Our overriding goal is to stop the spread of the virus and to help all Americans who have been impacted by this. In furtherance of the order, I'm urging every state to set up emergency operation centers effective immediately.
Earlier today, President Trump declared the coronavirus outbreak a national emergency. That announcement comes as the CDC reports more than 1,200 cases in the United States and 36 deaths from the virus. But many people are asking, what is a national emergency? It simply means states are allowed to ask the federal government to cover up to 75% of their expenses during emergency situations. So in this case, this would cover things like test kits, medical supplies, additional medical facilities, extensions, and those are things like drive-through testing sites.
Governor Roy Cooper issued a state of emergency earlier this week in North Carolina. Now, in this situation, the governor has activated the state's Emergency Operations Center. That center coordinates the state's agency resources. Declaration also means price gouging laws are in effect. If someone tries to sell hand sanitizer or maybe a cleaning product at a higher than normal price, report it. You can report that price gouging to the Attorney General's office. That number is there on your screen.
Novant Health is opening triage tents outside of hospitals here in the Triad. They say the tents will help staff get anyone help who needs medical attention and might have coronavirus. Screening centers will open in Winston-Salem and Kernersville from 8 until 5 Monday through Friday. Novant is also establishing a 24/7 hotline to answer your questions. Now, if you are not showing symptoms, they say do not go to one of those testing centers.
The Guilford County Schools Board of Education held an emergency meeting today to talk about the outbreak. They did not make a decision about closing schools, but they did talk about it. GCS is now weighing their options. Superintendent Dr. Sharon Contreras says their goal is to keep students and staff safe, but also said they want to consider the resources that students would miss out on if school was not in session, things like food and missed classroom time. They threw out several options, including keeping up to 25% of at-risk students in class. The district purchased 5,300 iPads to facilitate online learning. They've also spent $250,000 on cleaning supplies. The board also talked about how food workers and bus drivers would be compensated.
So a lot of you were watching our live stream there from that emergency meeting. Many of you commenting about if they should close schools. So we turn now to our digital expert, Brian Bennett.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that they think they should close, but then the parents are like, well, how am I going to take off from work? I still have to be able to provide. So let's jump right in to see what you had to say. Sherry says, this is insane. Looks like oh, sorry, that's the wrong one, guys. Bear with me here. It says, Clorinda says, close, close, close. We need to allow the health profession to get ahead of this. We're already behind the 8 ball. We need a shutdown like Italy. And this comment comes from Jenny. She says, how does it make sense to cancel events and sporting events, but keep them beside each other in class? Social distancing is a joke for school-age kids. So that was a comment that really, had you think a little bit. Danielle says, where do you think the kids go when they are not at school? Some children may live with the elderly. Everyone's situation is different, and you must put health and safety above anything else. So a lot of interesting different perspectives there.
Yeah, it certainly was not off the table, but I just don't think the school board was ready to take action this afternoon. They wanted to give it a little bit more time.
And I really feel for them because they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if they cancel classes, like that one parent said, now all of these parents are scrambling to figure out what they're going to do, daycare things, if they can't take off work. And then you also have the thousands of kids in Guilford County that rely on the lunches that they get at school.
Right, and they mentioned that. They have several possible plans in place. Again, possible, these are proposals, these are not set in stone, but only having about 25% of the kids who need the most help at school with the things you mentioned come to school, maybe even kids who have parents who are first responders or medical workers who can't take off work in a situation like this. So those are some things that they're looking at.
And I've even seen some people on social media already asking around, hey, if schools were to close, how many kids can you watch? I can watch 5
Really?
kids. Yeah, things like that. People already trying to jump in just in case as a way of preparation. All right, so there is a travel ban in effect that is starting tonight. All flights from Europe to the U.S. are suspended for 30 days. American and United Airlines say flights will run as normal to Europe for the next week. But because of the ban and the coronavirus impact, they'll cut flights to Europe by 50% starting in April. American Airlines also says that international flights will be cut by a third this summer. Delta says flights to Europe will be reduced starting Sunday.
Universal Studios Hollywood and Disney World suspended their operations temporarily. The parks are closing this weekend through the end of March. Universal City Walk will stay open, and employees there will be paid for any work scheduled through the end of the month.
NASCAR is postponing races for the next 2 weeks. The organization released a statement saying the race at Atlanta Motor Speedway, scheduled for this past weekend, is postponed. The race at the Homestead Miami Speedway for next weekend is also postponed.
And many of these large events are being canceled out of precaution to slow the spread of coronavirus. Health officials refer to this as social distancing. It's a term you probably started hearing this week for the first time and haven't stopped hearing about it, right? Essentially, it means staying away from other people to protect yourself and each other from getting sick. Health officials suggest you stop shaking hands. They also recommend canceling or postponing meetings with a large amount of people in them, and then stay 6 feet away from other people, especially if they are exhibiting symptoms.
Some progress overseas. Apple has reopened all 42 of its stores in China today. The store had shuttered all of their stores in early February as China restricted travel in an attempt to slow the coronavirus outbreak there. But they have been gradually reopening over the past few weeks. While the situation in China may be improving, Apple is likely to be hit elsewhere as the virus spreads around the world. This week, the company closed all 17 of its stores in Italy after the government put the country in lockdown.
As the coronavirus continues to raise concerns, the Red Cross is asking anyone who is healthy to donate blood. Now, if you think you have the coronavirus, the Red Cross will not take your donation. Donating blood is not an excuse for getting a coronavirus test, though. Let's verify.
A viral tweet claims to offer an easier, less expensive way to get tested for this coronavirus. Instead of a $3,200 test, just go donate blood. Quote, they have to test you for the virus in order to donate blood. There's a lot to break down in this message. Our sources, the Red Cross, the CDC, and the American Blood Centers. First point here, it gets the cost wrong. Right now, per the CDC, the coronavirus test doesn't cost anything. Now, people getting tested may have to pay for hospital stays and procedures at the hospital, but that cost will be different for each person. And it's worth noting, insurance companies and state and federal officials are working to lower or remove those costs. Next to the idea of donating blood because they have to test you for the virus. That's downright false. The Red Cross does test blood for illnesses and viruses, but not for the new coronavirus. It's brand new. That test can only be performed at the CDC and a handful of research locations around the country right now. This claim is false, but it could cause people to question or worry about donating blood. Here are some facts to help dispel those fears. 1. The Red Cross won't let anyone who is sick donate, period. And 2, there is no evidence that blood transfusions can give you the virus. Put simply, if you're healthy, it is safe to donate and receive blood. This is a big deal because right now, the Red Cross and American Blood Centers both need more donations. Turnout was already low due to the flu, and now the coronavirus is making people stay home and even causing some blood drives to be canceled. This tweet has been deleted, but unfortunately, it's being reposted and shared on other platforms. Remember, it's false and could lead people to doubt the blood donation process at a time when donations are needed.
All right, so testing is the big topic today. Specifically, when should you get tested? The CDC says if you develop symptoms of the virus like cough, shortness of breath, or a fever, you need to call your doctor first, and then they'll give you instructions about whether or not to come into the office. Mostly this gives both the office and you time to prepare for a possible case. Let those health officials know if you've recently traveled to an area with the virus outbreak. By the way, those tests, they're administered by swabbing a patient's nose and throat, and then the sample is sent to a lab.
Now, I know you are wiping down everything, trying your best to stay healthy. We have some tips to stay clean. Minimize how much you touch your face. Wash your hands with soap and water. You've been hearing this one for at least 20 seconds. Avoid touching surfaces with your fingers. It sounds crazy, but you touch dirty surfaces, right? And then you put your hands in your mouth or your eyes. All you're doing is just transferring the germs there. Open doors with your elbows or back of a hand. If you can, use tissues and then throw them away. And also clean your hands before touching your phone. You might as well clean the phone while you're at it. Because there is a lot of germs really transferred that way. And, you know, as the news of the coronavirus grows and grows every day, I keep coming back to something that my uncle taught me as a child. And he always said, whenever you come home from outside, wash your hands. That was always the first thing we did. And as a child, I kind of did it begrudgingly because it was kind of annoying. Now it's in my routine and I'm kind of thankful that it's just second nature.
Well, it's our first layer of protection, right? You protect yourself by keeping your area clean, using a wipe, whatever it is, to wipe down your areas, wash your hands, don't touch your face. I mean, they seem common sense. And we've been telling you this for 2 weeks. You might be tired of hearing it, but
Right.
It really is your best way, because we don't have a vaccine right now, to protect yourself from this virus.
And while you're wiping things down, I always say wipe your steering wheel in your car, especially after gassing up, because it's a lot of germs transferred that way. Well, do you have any questions about the coronavirus that maybe you want answered? The state has set up a special hotline so that you can get that information, and we've made it easy for you to get their number and what we know about the coronavirus. All you have to do is text the word virus to 336-379-5775 for more information.
A Utah Jazz player who tested positive for coronavirus is now apologizing for something he did earlier this week. Rudy Gobert issued an apology on his Instagram page after he was criticized for purposely touching reporters' microphones. You see it here at a table after a press conference. He wrote, "I was careless and make no excuse." Gobert's positive diagnosis prompted the NBA to cancel the rest of their season. His teammate later tested positive as well.
I can imagine that's what happens sometimes. Something is a joke and it turns out to be something bigger. And now here we are, the NBA is closed, another one of his teammates sick. We should take this seriously, I think is the message.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people were using humor to kind of shrug this off, like, yeah, it's not really a big deal. Now we're starting to see the effects of that, and his season canceled. He probably understands just how real this is. So I am glad he apologized. That was something I think he should have done.
And Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest takeaway from it, is that he realized that he did something that probably wasn't too cool about, you know, with the virus going on, and he took responsibility and apologized for it and stood up for his actions.
And I think that really takes a big person to do that. Yeah.
And we have to forgive, right? Absolutely.
But don't forget. And don't repeat. Don't repeat
Don't
either.
repeat. Don't repeat.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your local weather, which truthfully has been very nice over the last couple of days. Temperatures today again getting into the 70s. That's the third day in a row. Before that, we had only had 2 70-degree days in 2020. So this is new for us, some spring-like tease weather, if you will, because this is actually not going to last that much longer. Notice our 70s that we have really for a couple more hours. Sunset coming up closer to 7:30 now tonight. But by the time we go into Saturday morning, we're only in the upper 40s. So we do cool off. And one thing I'll show you on the map here, we're starting to see an increase in rain well off to the west. This is not really itching close to us tomorrow for the most part. It's mainly a dry Saturday. We'll start the day with some clouds. It's kind of just a mostly cloudy Saturday, but we will be on the edge of some showers for the afternoon. So don't be shocked if you do see a couple showers late Saturday afternoon and evening. The bigger chance for rain is Sunday. That's how your weekend works out. Tomorrow mainly dry, Sunday pretty wet. Coming up, we'll talk about when warmth starts to return.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. Can we all just take a collective deep breath? The past few days, it's been a lot. News of the coronavirus may have put some people on edge.
Yeah, and we wanted to lighten the mood a little bit. So I asked you on my Facebook page, what is something that has put a smile on your face? For me, it was the sunshine earlier this week. I was on my patio and I was just sipping my coffee, and that was great for me. Brian, I would love to hear what people have been saying on Facebook.
Yeah, a lot of smiles on faces today. People are trying to be positive. Let's jump right in to see what you guys had to say. Ed said, having an appointment and getting my driver's license renewed today in just 12 minutes. That has to be like a record time.
That is great.
Jennifer says, my mom getting to come home from the hospital.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, prayers for you. Natalie says, watching my grandbaby doing her ballet moves. And Miss Hammer says, cheesecake.
Sheila. Hey, Sheila.
Michelle says, working in my yard. Think there's a reason we are having an early spring. And Peggy says, I woke up this morning to see another day. Thank you, Jesus. I can walk, I can talk, I can read, I can write. Not everyone is this lucky at age 76. I am so blessed.
Peggy taking us to church.
I know, right?
It really just puts it into perspective, because I know you're just hearing this a lot and a lot and a lot. And sometimes it's just, just look at something on the bright side, something positive. There's always joy in every day. You just have to look for it.
Brian, any good news to share?
I'm here with you guys.
Yeah,
that's always good.
We're
It's
so
45.
happy you're here. I got to talk to my sister a lot this week. She's expecting twins. My 2 nieces coming in just a few weeks, so I got to talk about that and see them kick in a video.
They're going to be the most spoiled kids ever.
Already are. They are.
You already got some outfits?
They already are.
Oh yeah. You know Aunt Maddie's been shopping.
Just send something every week to them.
Maybe.
Okay.
Hey, share your good news on our live stream. We are streaming on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. We would love to hear what has put a smile on your face this week.
We'll be right back.
Hi there, Julie is going to be at A. I heard that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you.
right, so every Friday we share bloopers with you. And don't you feel like we might need some Friday funnies after the week?
Yeah, I know I do. And since I filled in on the Good Morning show this week and I didn't record any segments when I came back, it's all Maddie and Eric.
Mainly Eric.
This is what happens when nobody's looking.
Hey, no eating on the clock.
Turn it
Don't
off.
think I want to see you in your mouth or teeth and tongue.
Turn it off.
You can check out Brian Davis's new logo at the Greensboro Cultural Center throughout the cultural, that was right.
And it's opening day for KFC in Eden. Stop. I can't do it. The restaurant rebuilt after an explosion in July. Hold on, let me do it again.
At the Greensboro Cultural Arts Center, that's not right either, Cultural Center. 3, 2, 1. Monday. At the Greensboro Cultural, okay. I know, okay. Brian Davis's new logo at the Greensboro Cultural Center throughout the month of March. Perfect, okay.
By the way, a gas leak caused the explosion. I knew that was coming, and that's why I had to stop. Okay.
I like being on this side, just watching.
Cultural is one of my hard words. That, rule, and brewery.
What about rural juror?
I don't even know what you just said.
Rural juror.
Rural juror. I can't, if I had some time to prepare, Taisha.
I just put you on the spot.
The cultural rural brewery had juror.
You know, to me, it makes sense that it would be called the Greensboro Cultural Arts Center, but there's the words arts not in there.
No, I don't know where I got that. I'm sorry.
It's a nice place.
You should go to the Cultural Center. It's great.
It
On
really
Davie
is.
Street.
You guys are silly. Hey, we're going to talk a little bit about that weekend, right? Cooler air moving our way. So the fun is over as far as the 70s are concerned. For tomorrow, it's not cold, it's just cooler. So mid-50s for highs on Saturday. There will be at least a low chance of some rain. Yeah, harder to ride your motorcycle tomorrow, and especially tougher on Sunday. What you're looking at here, really the colder air starts to arrive, and that'll increase the clouds. With a front nearby, rain is very likely for Sunday. So the way we break down the weekend here, Sunday is the wet and cold day of the bunch. Saturday, mainly dry, but can't rule out a shower in the afternoon. Cooler, but not cold. So there are both of your weekend days right there in one view. Talking about the rest of the forecast as we get past that weekend, well, it's still going to be kind of chilly on Monday, a high barely touching 50 degrees, but that'll be the end of it. I think we'll get a little warmer after that, up to around 60 or so on St. Patrick's Day. There will be a chance of a shower or two there, and then getting into the rest of the week, looking a little warmer still. Some mid-60s pretty likely for Wednesday and for Thursday, and then by Friday of next week, some 70s could start to return. I really don't see any extreme cold on the horizon for us as we go through the next few weeks.
Coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5, maybe you've seen the pictures online. Crowds and lines at grocery stores, stocking up on all kinds of things, but what do you really need? We keep the panic out of your plan. That's next on WFMY News 2 at 5.
Hey there, 1, 2, 3, 5 o'clock news, 5 o'clock news, 5 o'clock news.
Oh, sorry.
Hi there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Good. Hello. Yes, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. you to get these on.
Have these same, like.
Hey, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, live at Guilford County.
Up over the weekend.
What?
Once it's operational, which we expect it to open up over the weekend.
Over the weekend. Okay, so we don't know when it's going to be open yet. Well, like the. I'm doing a mic check.
Do I have a peppermint? No. Hey there. Mic check 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check.
Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So it's time for my 2 cents. I want to talk about coronavirus, the one word I'm sure you've heard of more than you want to these past couple weeks. It's everywhere you look, from social media to the news to stores to restaurants. Everyone is talking about it. Gatherings are getting canceled, things are changing every day, and it's easy to get anxious. It's normal. Your feelings are valid, and I'm with you on this. It has completely inundated my world, as you can imagine, as being a journalist, and there are a lot of unknowns here. But I'm encouraging you to focus on both your physical and your mental health. You know, it is easier to get sick when you aren't feeling your best. During these trying times, prioritize your health. Eat healthy, drink water, work out when you can, get a full night's rest. Do activities that are relaxing for you. We can't control all these changes happening around us, but we can control how we react. So if all this coronavirus news is stressing you out, take a break from social media. Check in on news updates at specific times in the day. Maybe that's just twice a day for you. Just recognize that you are not helpless. Try to find joy in every moment instead of worrying about the unknown. And remember, this too shall pass. Form your own opinion. That's just my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts right now.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a